Next, we have Elle McCarty with the talk title of Getting Up Today, an Argument for a Renaissance of Workplace Motivation and Self-Esteem.
Who is excited to go to work Monday? Are you? Are you? No, seriously, who's excited to go to work Monday? Because the answer in an ideal world should be everyone. This seemingly innocuous question actually ties into a much bigger question: how each of us find meaning in our lives. Every single person deserves to feel like they can find meaning and find self-esteem in their work. And employers have the ability and the moral imperative to foster meaning and self-esteem in work. The pandemic served as a check-in for many, many people about whether their work brought them meaning and made them feel good about themselves. And what followed has become known as the Great Resignation. Today, the voluntary quit rate is 25% higher than pre-pandemic levels. In a global McKinsey survey, 2 in 5 workers said they are thinking about leaving their job in the next 6 months. Fulfilling workplaces that give us meaning and make us feel good about ourselves are increasingly in demand and necessary. I know as I look forward on the cusp of entering the workforce, finding meaning in my work is not an optional endeavor, and I'm not the only one. Individual meaning and corporate meaning are vital for the well-being of both organizations and people alike, and now is the time to really push for it. So if we're going to talk about this whole strange business of the meaning of life, we should probably choose a place to start and a place to define it. Viktor Frankl was an existential psychologist and a Holocaust survivor. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he declares each of us get to choose our meaning in life. That you are unique, and your meaning is as unique as you are. That there is no one-size-fits-all answer to this question of the meaning of life. And I don't know about you guys, but honestly, that's a little terrifying. Like, what do you mean nobody's going to answer that for me? That I decide what my meaning is. But also, it's intensely freeing. And that means no one gets to tell you what your meaning is. Only you get to do that. So I actually want to transition into self-esteem, which is intrinsically and intensely tied to meaning. Self-esteem is this feeling of I have worth and my actions have value. To be clear, it is not narcissism nor arrogance. It is I am good, not I am better than. I love the way the worm at the core puts self-esteem. People with durable self-esteem are like big, strong oak or redwood trees. With their roots firmly in the ground, they can bend with the wind. People with that strong self-esteem have emotional stability, a sense of fulfillment. They recognize their mistakes and can accept them. They live and laugh fully. Another thing is that we're never truly done improving our self-esteem. Every single one of us has opportunities to grow, and that's incredibly exciting. So some of us get our self-esteem from really big things like religion. And a lot of us get it from things a little closer to the heart. Things like being a good parent, being a caring friend, a supportive partner. Think about the last time you walked away from something thinking, man, I'm adding some good to this world. And maybe that's just volunteering to clean up the family dog vomit so no one else has to. I have 2 dogs that have very upset tummies. I love them so much. But these are all great things to find self-esteem from. But it can be hard to fully engage in our lives when another big pillar is failing us. In this case, work. From that, I want to turn to something I fear. Something I think a lot of us fear, actually, especially those of us about to graduate or having recently graduated. The idea that what the next 40 years have in store for us is sitting behind a desk, and today's task is to move papers from A to B. And tomorrow's incredibly exciting task is move papers from B to A. And the day after that, B to A to B, and it goes on. And at the very end of it all, laying down and wondering what we accomplished at all. Whew. In other words, the opportunity to autonomously create value is something we need. Now, on this campus, I've seen so many of my peers pour their heart and soul into their organizations, their communities, their people, their projects, and they're not getting paid. So there must be something else that motivates them. And, sure, some people might be motivated by, it might look good on a resume, but I promise you, this is not what's driving the people I have seen pour their souls into these things. It is not what drives us to stay up until 1, 2, 3 a.m. working ourselves to the bone. This furious, passionate hunger is something we all have. Look at any child in a safe environment with their needs met. If you've ever seen two kids go to the beach and digging some holes, it is far more likely they will joyously unite to dig the deepest hole ever dug than to start spitefully filling in each other's sandpits. We are still those children. You know, it may not feel like it, but that passion, that urge to create for creation's sake, it can never actually be killed, merely suppressed. And unfortunately, in our adult life, it often is. As I'm entering the job market and through my research, I've noticed that work is often constructed around a false subconscious paradigm, this adversarial relationship between the employee and the employer, that the employee wants as much as possible for as little as possible. And yet, on a species-wide scale, we see this to be false under the right conditions. All of us yearn to create value, to create meaning. And the psychological bedrock of work, why any of us do it at all, I would argue, is to create that meaning. And this meaning informs all aspects of our life. One very important aspect it informs is identity. From Aristotle to Eric Fromm's Escape from Freedom, we see that identity from work, it is imperative, that it is positive and fulfilling. And that not being proud of our work, not finding esteem in the identity that our work gives us, is devastating to our ability to live a fulfilled life. Work creating self-esteem benefits everyone, employee and employer alike. Now, on the individual side of things, which is how we most often hear it talked about, it creates self-love and self-compassion. It dramatically increases our emotional resilience, and it's kind of incredible to feel that security and stability of an oak tree, the deep, deep comfort that we matter. That's a great feeling. Now, on the corporate side of things, it also has a lot of benefits. Confident teams are much more capable than those that lack confidence. Studies have shown that executives with self-esteem have lower prejudice. It's also incredibly important for recruiting and retaining a younger generation, a generation that now more than ever, faced with this world, is struggling with meaning. In a 2018 McKinsey survey, 70% of Gen Z respondents ranked purpose more important than pay. Now, this isn't to say not to prioritize pay. We have to be able to pay our bills before we can think about the meaning of life. But my point here is just how important meaningful work is to our generation. So right now, for every working individual over 65, there are 4 individuals of working age ready to replace them. Come 2035, there will be 2. For a business to be sustainable, for it to survive, it is not optional to focus on young workers. And for young workers, it's not optional to focus on meaning. Now, the good thing is, companies actually have a lot of power over creating this meaningful work, and they absolutely need to take advantage of it. And some are, and I encourage them to double down. For employers, or those involved in shaping the work that individuals do, you're likely already thinking about motivation. Especially with the advent of remote and hybrid work, it's become imperative in the conversation. So, to create this, there needs to be a dialogue, not a monologue. And it needs to be genuine. People can typically sense when a corporate email is like, yeah, you're doing so good. But actually bringing people into the conversation, that's noticed, that's action. And not only does this increase brand value by attracting top talent, it's also essential in a world where more and more people are conscious of consuming from ethical companies. And the social side of it is a huge part of that. So, some things employers can do to increase this self-esteem and meaning are give tasks that boost self-confidence and are adequately challenging, create a psychologically safe space. People need to be free to be themselves and express themselves genuinely for any sort of innovation to occur. They also need to understand that they have autonomy, that they can put a piece of themselves into their work. I know I'm much more motivated to do even just a simple task I've been assigned when I get to decide how to do it. If I'm asked how to clean a room, I'm gonna care a lot more if I get to decide the best way to accomplish this than if someone is incessantly standing over my shoulder telling me exactly how to mop. Now, let's make no mistake, the floors will get mopped, but this is the difference between me caring about how clean the floors are and being done with the task. Now, another thing is that individuals need to understand the impact they have. Hospitals cannot function without clean rooms. Does the individual who's cleaning those rooms understand how vital their job is to the organization? Has it been made clear to them through genuine messaging, through leadership, that they deserve to take esteem in this job? Good leadership creates good culture. That's true of any organization I've seen or been a part of. Now, as much as employers have power in creating this self-esteem, individuals do as well. A lot of organizations end up with an anti-vulnerability culture that can really make people feel isolated or crush creativity. Fight back. We can do this. Show gratitude to your coworkers, recognize their work, and understand that recognizing someone else's work does not threaten your own. Openly discuss what you find meaningful and purposeful in your tasks, and also discuss what you don't. And this isn't just tasks that might be tedious. These are things that you think could be cut, or like, man, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this at all? You know this. You're on the floor being the one executing the task. You have this great information, and take action on it in the ways that you can. For truly fulfilling work to be created, employees and employers on every single level of the organization need to be involved in this conversation. Executives and senior partners can create policies and resources that make the environment for fulfilling work possible. Frontline employees and teams can have an open discussion about what they find meaningful and how to take action. Whew. Now, at the end of all of this, I'm actually pretty hopeful about the working world. We are starting to see companies realize the importance that purposeful work has, that individuals deserve to feel good about themselves through their work, and that we spend over 1/3 of our lives at work. Now, I had the pleasure of speaking to Dr. Christine Webster Moore, the CHRO of Allina Health, a hospital system of over 27,000 people. I want to end with a quote of hers that really struck me about modern work. Engineering a system that requires human beings to make the system work requires organizations to hardwire meaning and purpose into the work itself. I want to be excited to go to work tomorrow. Thank you.